This is Building a Creative Life. I'm Pam Vale, a New England artist, bringing the world of creativity to your door through casual conversations with artists, creators, and everyday people, helping curious, midlife women begin their next creative chapter. I'm glad you're here. Let's get started. Today I'm joined by Urmila Menon, the author of Color Coded, a beautiful book rooted in identity, storytelling, and what it really means to claim the truth of who you are. What I love about Urmila is the courage she brings to her creative process. We talk about imposter syndrome, trusting the timing of your ideas, finding the right support, and how personal stories become a lifeline for other people who are searching for their own voice. If creativity has ever felt intimidating, or if you've wondered whether your story is enough, this conversation is going to feel like such a relief. And be sure to stay with me until the end, where I'll share a few thoughts and practical encouragements that you can take with you into your own creative life. Well, welcome, Urmila. I'm so happy to see you again. I love hearing about what's going on with you. I'm very excited to talk about the topic that we're going to talk about today because it's super personal and I think you have a lot of stuff to share. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Pam, for having me. I am here for the second time, and it couldn't have been a better time to be on your show one more time because I think the last time that I was there, we were talking about different things, and now it's beautifully led to something even, better. So we have lots to talk about. Thanks for having
Definitely.
me.
I absolutely. It's my pleasure. Um, what I would love, so you have very exciting stuff happening in your professional world. And also, I mean, I think it's personal. I think it's all like connected, right? Like it's part of your story. And we're going to get into that, but I would love it for people who haven't watched our first episode, which I will link in the show notes so people can watch that and find out because you gave so much great information in that first one. But I would love it if you could just give like a little brief overview about like you and what you do.
So now I can say that I'm an author, I'm a speaker, I'm also a creative educator, and I'm the founder of Creative Wellness Project, and I'm based in Hong Kong.
Very good. All right, so you gave a little tease about what we're going to talk about. And I am so like it's so much fun to have witnessed this like last few months of your journey. Your
Yeah.
book, Color Coded, came out in the interim in between when we spoke last. But it was very interesting
Yeah.
because you and I had spoken over the summer about like what stage you were at and the process of writing and like
Yeah.
a book is huge. It's a big deal. And plus yours is very personal. It's not just,
Yeah.
instructional. So
Yeah.
I would love to talk a little bit. Like my hope with this chat is to show people what's possible, right? And like
Yeah.
sort of your path and how this happened.
Yeah.
And I would love to know, um, maybe kind of chronologically, like first of all, like how did the idea for a book come up and like how
Mm-hmm.
long ago?
Mm-hmm. Great. So I think I'm just going to go in order so
Yeah.
it makes sense for everyone, who's listening to us maybe for the first time or maybe even the second time. I think I can safely say this now because it's a good time. So it all started with my career quake, honestly. I don't think I've spoken openly about it because I don't think I was ready to speak about it. But then it actually started with my career quake back in Feb 2024. So I found out in the worst way a person could actually find out about, the change that you're being replaced. And it really felt like my identity was taken away from me because we associate so much of our existence and our identity with what we do professionally. So that came like a slap on my face, So, but then I think now that I look back, it was the best possible wake up call I could ever get because with the book, I was thinking like where did this idea of writing a book come from? So I think the first time I probably mentioned to someone was probably back in uni that I wanted to write a book. But honestly, it was just that, it wasn't anything more or anything less. And now that I'm really putting, joining the dots in retrospect, I think I've always been a storyteller. Like, even as a kid, I would come back from school and I would like really tell my mom everything in chronological order as it's happened with the comma and the full stop and everything. So I think that mental documentation of what's happening around me has always been a thing. And that's also comes with being a highly sensitive person. So I used to always think that, it's a weakness that I feel so much and I, take in so much. But I cannot tell you, Pam, sometimes your weaknesses become the reason that you're able to do something out of your comfort zone. So we just need to know how to tap into our weaknesses to make it our strength. So I think this is being observational, feeling so much has really helped me so much with the book. So this career quake, you have no idea. Like, it just took things away from me in a really bad way. Like, you really start having this existential crisis, and things were just not working out. Like, I did try to go for another role which is stable, because this one was definitely well paying, stable, all checks all those boxes that we're conditioned to follow. When this happened, I still had 6 months in the contract, and I was thinking that, okay, fine, you know what, I'll find another one. It's, I'm a double postgraduate, for God's sake, and stuff like that, and whatever. I still had hope, but it was just not working. And Pam, I can't tell you how uncanny it felt. Like, it was just not working out. And then it made me think that, what if I'm not made for the system? I've always been a misfit in the system, but then, with your conditioning and what you were taught growing up, you try to fit in. So I was like, you know what? There is no better time than this to actually give that book a shot. Then the next question was, what do I write about? And actually, the thing is, I'll tell you something, Pam. Something that comes very easily to you. It could be different for you, it could be different for me. We often ignore that. So, writing was that thing that used to come very effortless to me, so I never valued it. And it was my husband who told me on a Saturday, like back in 2024, I think it was August or something. He's like, we did like a whole analysis kind of a thing. So, what is something that is you want to do, but it's difficult for you? What is something that's easy for you and you also like doing? So, we did that thing, and it was writing. And I kept putting it in the back burner because I was thinking that, oh, who has the patience to read? Who even reads books now? Like, though I read it, but I used to always think that nobody would want to read a book. But then it was December 2024 that I was like, you know what? 2025 is going to be the book, the year that I put my book out there. I made the grand decision. I put it on my vision board, prepped mentally. But then, what do I write about? That was the first thing. And 2025, I think it was December, one fine morning, the name came to me. I don't know how and where. So it's called Color Coded: Finding Ourselves and Our Stories. Because I'm a firmest believer of the fact that we're nothing but our stories, and everyone has a story and a book in them, if I may, stretch it far enough to say. And I think Jan 2025, I announced on my Substack that, I'm writing my book, and, paid subscribers. I'm also turning on paid subscribers. So you would get to know the behind the scenes journey, and you would get the beta reading kind of thing and all of that. So that was something that I was offering. So I got 4 paid subscribers. Okay. And I was like, okay, it's fine. I mean, it's a huge big deal that people are parting their money for my writing. That's a huge big deal. But yeah, it was 4 paid subscribers. I started off Feb 2025 is when I really got into the manuscript, like really writing it, nailing it down, putting the chapters. I knew I wanted to tell my story, but I also knew that I didn't just want to tell my story. I wanted it to be a very active reading experience for the reader as well. And I'm someone who loves nonfiction. Like, I'm only a nonfiction reader. So I love books where you can do something along with the, while you're reading. So it's very clear that every chapter will have a prompt that will take the reader also on a journey. So I was clear on that structure. Then I think Feb, I nailed down the chapters. I needed a structure on what I would work on and stuff. I think Feb and March was when I kind of finished off the first draft of the manuscript. And then I hated it.
Oh my God.
I'm sure you know about it because I've spoken to you about it over email, and you said the same thing that yes, you also went through this, you're going to hate it, but then give it some space. I remember this, those conversations later on because I met you later on,
Mhm.
but then I remember this very well and very vividly how you had shared that it's the same with your
Yeah,
book as
you don't
well.
want to look
So
at it. I don't want to read it anymore. I don't want to talk about it or whatever. But then it comes back around.
yeah, so I was like, okay, you know what? I almost felt that, you know what, this is shit. I might as well just dump it. I was like in that mode. And I think it was April. I took a trip across Thailand and I documented the entire trip with my illustrated journaling sketches. And I was sharing that on Substack because I think it was a great way to document a travel and no other reason for it. But then suddenly there was a lot of interest in people wanting to do it as well. And they said, do you take workshops? I was like, I kind of don't, but then it's something that comes intuitively to me. But then I really had a lot of response and a lot of recurrent response on this. So I was like, you know what? This is like, I mean, what the heck? Like, I love sharing whatever I know. I love sharing creatively, definitely. So why not? So I hosted my first illustrated journaling workshop, and I think 20 people from across the world, joined. I think I shared about this in your last talk as well, in our last talk. And at that time, Pam, even when I was talking to you about all of this, I kind of felt that I had derailed. I had the shiny object syndrome problem,
Hmm.
all of that. But now that I look back, Pam, I really want to give your readers this kind of experience sharing that whatever seems like your distraction
Mm,
may be where your traction lies, because
absolutely.
that was my community.
I feel
That was
like,
my
yeah,
community.
and there's something that happens if we trust that like space. For me the same thing. I finished my book the end of last year. Like it's not probably totally done, but I've like total, I finished most of it. And then I had been feeling guilty in the last few months, like, wow, I haven't really done anything with it. And I haven't, I should be further along, or I should be doing this, or I should be doing. But I look now and there's some stuff happening with my book too that's pretty exciting. And like, it wasn't time before for me. Like,
Yeah,
I'm a different person now than I was in February before I started like this podcast and all these other
yeah,
things. So like I feel like there's a reason for everything and there's timing and like other
yeah,
growth had to happen. So I
yeah,
feel like
yeah.
that's what happens if we trust it.
I mean, and it's not easy to trust it in the time, because you're constantly like, oh my God, again, you've lost your focus.
So
You're still running
critical.
after a shiny object.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
critical. And now that I look back, I'm so glad I did those workshops because I kind of built a community of my dreams, I would say. I met so many like minded people. Okay, we'll not run ahead in the
Okay.
story. So we had these workshops. And then I think I came around in August and I was like, you know what? Let me give this book another chance. And I think that was also the time we were talking and I had spoken to others as well. So I was hearing this common echo, that, you know what? You will hate your manuscript. You can give it one more shot. And I think after speaking to you on your podcast, and then I think a couple of things, and August, I was like, you know what? Let me just give this another shot. So I kind of tinkered around, tried to get back to it slowly. September was also a little here and there. And then October was when I really, really went all in. And yeah, September was when I kind of this thing. And then October, I kind of hired an editor. So when I think I had asked I had put out an ad for an editor in Upwork, Fiverr, and all these things. I got around 24 applications. So that was a little interesting because a lot of them wrote that I would love to work on a book like this, on this theme. So I'm like, okay, these people don't know me. They're not my friends. And it's not that I'm, throwing money out there. So that kind of gave me a little hope that there is interest in this kind of book as well, because a lot of them wanted to add this to their portfolio. So I was like, okay, that is a good sign,
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes writing is so solitary that you have no clue
Mm-hmm.
whether it's going to work, whether anyone's going to even read it, whether it's even going to see the light of the day. So these are these little
Yeah.
glimmers that you can see along the
And
way.
I think sometimes
Another,
also, sorry to interrupt you, but like with this
yeah,
topic too, can be so personal that we're not writing
yeah,
for like we're researching what people are interested in. You're writing a lot of it is for yourself and to get it out there. And
yeah,
so that's great that you
yeah.
had that feedback. So,
you always feel that, who would want to know about your story? Like, what the heck? Like, who are you? You're not a Obama or a Malala. Like, who cares? So, one more smoke signal that I really kind of felt that, okay, fine, you know what, this is going somewhere, is when I had put out a call for beta readers. So I had put it out in certain groups, local groups and stuff, that, this is a book on identity, creativity, and representation. It was a very simple poster that I put out there. I put out the ad, and I just went to get a cup of tea or something. And within 15 minutes, I had about 14 people reach out to me for being beta readers. This is a free thing. I'm not paying them. And they don't also again know me. So I'm like, what? Is this really happening? Because when I put out for for paid subscribers in Jan, I just got like 4 people. So I was like, okay, fine, maybe nobody wants to read my book. Maybe the topic is not interesting. Maybe I should just can it, that kind of thing. But then I think this was in June that I put out a call for beta readers, and 14 people reached out. And suddenly I was in a position to choose, because 14 people is excessive for beta reading. 8 is a sweet number, so you have a good mix and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, fine, now I have a new kind of problem. I had to say no to people, which is something I wasn't prepped for. And then I really had to really, have a thing with them where they all shared the why as to why they want to be beta readers, because the why is really important for whatever you do in life. So then I found like the best beta reading community. They, a select group of 8 people. So I was like, okay, fine. Now I have 8 strangers who have joined me on this journey. Now I better get this book out. So it was like, you need sometimes, like, I work very well with external accountability. So I really work. That's one of my weaknesses that I've kind of turned into, something that works for me. And that was June. And then, yeah, and then I hired an editor in October. So that was like another thing. 24 application spam. I really went through each of them like I was looking for a life partner. Like I really thoroughly vetted them. And I'm so glad I did, because it's so important to choose the right editor, because a lot of books die in the editing phase. I'm sure you know it. Like, I don't need to tell you, but then just for the readers, if anyone has aspiring to write a book, please choose the right editor. It has to, because you both are going to be seeing each other's worst
Mm-hmm. It's
side,
very intimate.
because it's very intimate. And I think I was doing it in a time crunch, so I wanted to get done in the month of October. I had this, invisible deadline in my head that I wanted to get this book out this year, because I also kind of know myself that if I give myself endless time, this can just go on and I'm going to lose interest. So I knew I had to just get this out, and October was like the crunch month. And I chose an editor, but then I did see her go through her own breakdowns and stuff. And towards the end, I had to do the proofreading myself. So I think another thing I also noticed is all the multi hats that you wear.
Mm.
I'm sure you have your own set of multi hats, being a multi hyphenate. They all come together when it's the right time. So being an English professor, educator, and trainer really helped me get that proofreading done, because I've been doing that in my job. Like, it's one of the things that I do quite often on a regular. So when my editor was having this humanly kind of, she was kind of really stressed out. So, and then I was seeing a lot of errors in the proofreading round, which was the last round. And I'm like, I cannot have a book going out with errors. Cannot. Like, that's just not happening. So I had to like roll up my sleeves, and get the proofreading done myself. And I'm so glad I had an eye for it, maybe because I've been an educator for so long. So yeah, and the same thing with the book cover, Pam. I put out in Fiverr and all these platforms that I wanted to get a book designer for the book cover, right? All of them AI generated ones, those ones which really look very plasticky for me as an artist as well. So I ended up choosing a painting of mine from a 2021 exhibition that I'd done. So this was part of the series, How Do You Feel Today? It was a mental health series. And it made it to London for an exhibition around these topics. So it was a collaborative exhibition. And one of the pieces from that series made it to the cover of the book. And
It's
it was
perfect.
such a full circle. Yeah, it's such a full circle moment, because the theme of that painting was also representation.
Right.
And because it was, I mean, I don't know if you've seen the cover.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically brown generally has connotation of looking. So mud is a color for brown, right? You often associate brown with something inferior, something dirty, something shabby. So I wanted to explore all the shades of brown. Like, so I'd use coffee for that painting, and it's all the shades of brown coming together beautifully. So I think the cover, I'm really
I love
stoked
it.
to see the cover.
Yeah, the cover is perfect.
And
It's very eye-catching. It looks very personal.
yeah,
Yeah, very creative.
it's thank you so much, because I was also looking at the listing in Amazon. Like when you
Mhm.
scroll through the listings in Amazon, it really stands out because it's not AI made, it's not very commercial looking one. So it does stand out in whatever way, it depends on the receiver. But then I think I'm pretty stoked to see the cover. And a lot of people are also wanting to get the book because of the cover, because it looks great, like a coffee table book is what I got as a feedback for whoever got it. So I was like, yay, finally. So that was October, and then November is when I got it out, and I did a pre-order
It
for
was
the ebook,
exciting.
and I was like, I don't know about any of these things. What is pre-order? So there was a lot of learning on the job, and I was talking to a lot of people, but then you can only know so much from someone else's experience. You have to go through it yourself. I think that's something I figured out. And I think for anyone who is interested in writing their book, there's a lot of information out there. Choose what you can, because there are a lot of shoulds, like you should do this, you should do Amazon paid ads, you should whatever, but choose what you can, because that's very important. Otherwise there's so much noise that you get. Like a lot of the times I was feeling like, oh my god, can I even do this? So I think really pick and choose what is to your capacity, and I think that really worked out, because the book got the number one place in multiple categories in the pre-order, in ebook and paperback both. And I'll tell you, Pam, one of my sweetest core memories of 2025 is 11/11, 11th of November, so 11/11. That night is when the book went number one. And my journaling community was the one who was looking for the ratings, and one of the members is one who shared the screenshot that it's reached number one.
Wow.
So it was a very shared experience, and this is my illustrated journaling community. So I was like, I can now look back and say that, okay, the dots were joining. And like you rightly said, it has to be at the right time, the right place. So not before, not after.
Mhm.
And yeah, and here I am
Oh
speaking
my
to
God.
you.
Can you believe it? I mean, it's like out, it's number one, people are buying
Yeah,
it. It all, you
yeah,
found the right cover, you found, the right editor, you finished yourself. Like, it's just, I think people, and it also didn't take you like years. Like, I think people need to realize that you can have an
yeah,
idea and you can
yeah,
bring it like full
mm,
circle. I mean, it was
yeah,
like a year and a half, which is a long time,
yeah.
but it's not like
Mm.
decades, you know?
It's not the entire year,
No.
actually, Pam. If I would say, it was, I think, 2 months of, making the first draft, 2 months of sauntering around it, like after I spoke to you and a couple of others, and then 1 month of hardcore editing, and November it was
Yeah,
out. So if
it's
you actually
crazy.
see it, if you see distill it down, it's just actually 6 months.
Wow. Wow, that's a
But yeah, it's
great
just,
lesson.
yeah. So you can get it out in 6 months, provided you fight your demons at the right time. Because a lot of it is, here.
Mhm.
A lot of your hurdles are up here. If you can work through them, and the sooner you get there, the sooner you reach to the finish line, is what I would say, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you touched on it, and I think something that you're really very good at is building community and also just staying open and like connected to people. And I see it not, obviously I
Yeah.
see it with me, but I see it on your Substack. I see it how you interact with people. I see it how you post on your social media. And it's very authentic, and I feel like your community knows that. Like they know what they're getting and they know it's
Yeah.
genuine. And so I would love it if
Mm.
you could talk a little bit about, for people that are creative who might have, especially, we talk a lot on Substack about writers primarily, but
Yeah.
really any creative, like how important building community around your creativity is.
I think it's probably one of the most important things other than your craft, because your creativity is personal to you. Agreed. But the more you build in public, the more you share the messy bits of it, the more allies you're going to build. because people don't really want your product. They join your mission, you know. And for them to feel part of your mission, you have to show all sides of it. Like, I think by now I'm too open. Like, I've shared drafts of, when I'm like, crying and wailing. Not me crying and wailing, but I also document it. So it's my illustrated character that's wailing or whatever. I've shared all the doubts, I've shared how I wanted to throw in the rubbish, everything. So I think I would, now that I look back, it wasn't with the intention of building community, but now I can say that's how you build community. Because, like, at the time, it's just like I like to create and share. And I think every creative needs to do that. Otherwise, I think you wilt away in a creative corner because you need that sunlight. The people that you talk to, the people that you share with, they're like your sunlight, which is important for your growth. And you never know, Pam, who you will meet on the way. The way I met you, the way I met some other people as well, who have been quite interesting to have like allies, to have conversations, to know that, okay, we are on similar paths, we think the same. So otherwise, you feel that, probably you're always in your imposter syndrome. So when you build in public, you never know who is joining you or what kind of people or connections you make. So I think for creatives, I think one of the most important things is build your community, not with the intention that they're going to help you sometime, but with the thing with, you're going to have allies. When you're having your bad days, someone's going to come and say, you know what, your words really reached out to me. I really love doing that prompt from your book. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to get back to writing now. So it's very important, I think, for any kind of creative.
It is. And I think especially it shows, it's like being a power of example too, especially for people who have been silenced or
Yeah.
creatively silenced at some point in their life, or maybe have never explored, their creative identity or found their creative path. And I think, places like obviously right now, Substack is a lovely place to be. I don't know if it'll stay that way, who knows? But right
I
now,
know.
like it's lovely people and people that are genuinely interested in creative expression and in connection and slowing down. And I think, if people haven't found that, it's just to keep looking, that they might just not have found the right people.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I think it's very easy to get discouraged when you don't get the response and when you don't get the metrics, the vanity metrics, when you don't get that. But I think the more you share, the more you attract the right kind of
Mm.
crowd, I feel. Because that's what happened with me. Like, I wasn't like a big name on Substack. I'm still not a big name on Substack. But it's the quality that,
Yes.
you build on the way than the quantity. So I think numbers are great, good to have. I'm never saying the numbers are not good, but I think it's the people that who are going to be by your side. I think that really matters on a platform.
Definitely. And with your writing process, like for people that might be thinking that they have a story that they want to share, did you like what was the nitty gritty? Like, did you write longhand? Did you write on a computer? Did you have like a ritual that you sat down and like lit a candle to write? Like, what? How did you write?
That's a lovely question. I think everyone needs to have, you need to nail down your ritual because this is a repetitive process. It's like, it's like getting your first push up. You need to put in the reps to get the result. And for me, I would share that in the beginning, when I was just doing my first draft, I didn't really have a ritual, and that kind of showed, Pam. Like, if you don't have a ritual, you cannot stick to this because it's so easy to get affected. Like, I'm like the wind, I'm like this small canoe in a stormy sea. That's me. That's my personality. So, I'm just going to share some funny things. Don't laugh, okay? So, I had these little notes stuck around the house. Can you see it?
Yeah.
It says, stick to your plan, not to your mood. So
Okay.
I have so many reminders around the house, like finish what you start and like all these little. So whatever works for you. So this was probably in the month of October that I needed this, but I would say that have a specific timing. You really need to. I would give this advice to someone who's writing their book: know yourself.
Mm.
Know when it's your best time. Know what's the medium that you're most comfortable with. The more you know yourself, the more you can build that ritual around your personality. Don't fight it. Like, don't be like, no, I need to get up 4 a.m. in the morning and do this. No, if you're a night person, work with that. So I think for me personally, I wrote on the computer because I know that I hate rework. Like, I'm someone who despises rework. Like, I would love to write it because it's more accessible, portable, and all of that. But then I don't want to come back and like type it out again. So for me, it has to be a one-shot thing. So I definitely wrote on the computer in the Word doc. It's easier for me to copy and paste because I hate rework. So I knew that about myself. So I definitely work digitally. And for as for the ritual, especially for the month of October, I'll tell you, get out of your home or wherever is the space that you do something else. Like, if you have like another office space to go, great, but a lot of creatives or writers are doing it in addition to their day job, or probably whatever is their setup. So I would really recommend going to your local library, because I think for the month of October, that was my second home. I was there every day, pre-lunch, post-lunch, pre-lunch, post-lunch. So that ritual really helped me in really accelerating and getting work done. So move out of your regular space where you eat, whatever, hang out, sleep, and all that, because this has to be a space that your brain automatically associates with writing. And I had a playlist, I'll tell you. It's a vintage playlist that I had that I always play when I was writing, and it's also the same track. So it's a brain cue for your brain as well, that, oh, this music has started, that means it's writing time. So I have these little small things, and I'm not proud of it, but I had an iced coffee every day. And that to the McDonald's coconut latte. I'm not proud of it. I'm not recommending it. But have a drink that really puts you in the zone of writing. 1 month of consumption of something as unhealthy as this, but then you can find your own poison and whatever works for you. So have that. So have these consistent cues for you that will trick your brain into getting into that mode, because you have two different modes. You have living mode and you have writing mode. So you need to find what puts you in that writing mode. So yeah, these are, I think, certain things that I would call as rituals.
It's perfect.
That
No,
worked.
it's perfect. And you had mentioned briefly earlier about imposter syndrome. And I know
Yeah.
that for me, as a professional artist for as long as I've been, I mean, that's like, it's just a natural thing that comes up and you just kind of have to deal with
Yeah.
it and like find ways to
Mhm.
work through it. But with this book, and especially I guess more so like towards the end, maybe in the last half of you working on it when you were really like drilling down, how did
Yeah.
you break through that? Like what do you do to sort of get through your brain where it stops you?
Yeah. Yeah. Wait, wait. I have this thing that I have a folder of whatever good comments or whatever good feedback I have received on whatever creative work. It could be your book, whatever it is. I have this little feel good folder that I keep. Now, that's because of my personality type. Like, I don't know, have you done this Gretchen Rubin's personality type? She has 4 personality types.
Mm-mm.
So it's basically you need to find what makes you tick, like what keeps you going.
Mhm.
So for me, it's definitely external validation. I'm not proud of it, but it is
Yeah,
what it
that's
is. And I know it. So I have this little folder where I have all these good comments that I've received from readers, friends, family, whatever it is. And some days when I'm feeling like, you know what, this book is absolute garbage, I would open that folder and I'm like, okay, not so much of garbage. If these three strangers are telling me that they're feeling really seen, heard, and with this book, then maybe they are right. Okay, now I'm done with my cry little
yeah.
cry fest, and I'm gonna go back and to my writing. So I think having a record of your past wins is one way. Having some kind of public validation that you've had in the past, keeping that as a memory is also, because that's proof. That's proof that you have done something that you considered a win. And it's nice to revisit them. Like, it's very easy for us to jump from milestone to milestone and not value things that we have done in the past. But it's always a good idea on days when you're feeling like garbage, to just like probably go back to that folder
Yeah.
and pump yourself up.
I think that's a great such a great suggestion for anybody. Like where anything's
Yeah.
concerned. Like sometimes we just need to like get out of ourselves and be
Yeah.
validated. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And
Yeah.
early in the conversation today, you had talked about, which this made me think of, you had talked about like when things come easy to us and how we can sort of
Mm.
take that for granted or not. um I know for me personally, something I have to work on a lot is things that do come easy to me is giving myself credit for them because they come easy, like creatively or artistically. And I don't think that they're accomplishments, or I don't take the
Yeah.
time, like you just said, to really like
Mm.
appreciate those things. So I
Yeah.
feel like that's a big thing for a lot of people.
It's so common, and I think it's also good to have these kind of
Mm.
conversations so other people know that it's very
And
common.
they're not alone.
Because
Yeah.
yeah, because when I was like, oh my god, am I the only one who feels this? What is wrong with me? You kind of feel something wrong. But then when you hear someone else say that, oh, I also feel this, or I also go through this, like, oh, this is a very common thing. This is
Hmm.
fine.
Right, and to share
So something
tactics on
else.
how to get through it, is really
Yeah. And
helpful.
I think also having, if you have the luxury of having an accountability buddy,
Hmm.
which I didn't really have. So my accountability buddy was my husband, who's seen me crying, wail, everything. So yeah, have probably one or two people, probably your family, your friends, or whatever.
Hmm.
If you can have a writing buddy, that's great. But I didn't have one. But have some another person other than your headspace to actually be your anchor on this journey.
Hmm.
That also really helps, I'd say.
And I think, in your social media posting about your book, you talk about the book
Mm.
being for like the creatives and the misfits, and there's another word you use, the dreamers,
Dreamers.
dreamers.
Yeah.
And why did you pick those three words, or why do you use those?
Yeah, that's something I was quite interesting about this book, because when I started writing this book, I was like, okay, this is my experience. So all the times that I have felt like a misfit, being a brown person, being a creative, being a dreamer who is stuck in a system that values outcome, all of that, right? But then when I was wanting to end this book, I was like, how do I end this book? Like, what can be the ending? Like, it's had a beginning, it's had like a peak, but then how do I end this? So I was researching about this book a lot in the library and everything, and one book really caught my eye. It's called Minor Feelings by Kathy Hong Park. She's a Korean American, and she writes about her experiences being a Korean in America, and how it's been a very alienating feeling and stuff like that. When I started reading that book, I was like, how is she feeling what I'm feeling? She's not brown. Like, I mean, how? Like, but then you know what, Fan? As I read the book, I saw myself moving from competition to compassion. So I kind of felt that, you know what? Being a misfit can be for any reason. It could be because you're a brown person, you're a black person, you're probably could because of your gender, because of the roles you play, the roles you don't play.
Hmm. The way you
So the
think.
feeling of misfit, yeah, so the feeling of being a misfit is very common. The alienation, the frustration, the erasure, invisibility is a very common feeling. So I was like, that's my way of including a larger number that's beyond me and making an impact of turning my pain into my purpose. And that's the reason why I made it as for the misfits, creatives, dreamers, and women who refuse to shrink.
Hmm.
Because I think that's definitely because I do talk of powerful women in my family. But the thing is, they are kind of closed door, just I know about them.
Hmm.
But if they had the right opportunity and the space, they would have also reached places. So that's how I made my book with kind of a universal appeal for it started talking to people who have felt unseen in many ways. And that I think worked really well for the book as well.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I am so excited for you. I am so thrilled that we fit this in before the end of the year and we got to like talk about your process and you got to share that. I will definitely put all of your contact information in the show notes so people can find you and buy the book. I'll put a link in there. Congratulations. Is there anything else that you want to share that might help somebody that's struggling or lacking confidence or in this process?
I think I have to say this. It's coming from a personal experience. Since you've been through the tunnel, there is light at the end of the tunnel, and your story matters. We all have this feeling that, who's want to read this, who wants to know this and all that. Your story matters, and we're definitely nothing but our stories. So go find your story. This book is going to take you on a journey of unlearning all the stereotypes and conditioning that hold you back, unraveling who you are beyond all these stereotypes, and rebuilding a life that feels authentic to you in pace and space. So go find your story, write your story. And yeah, if you need any support with writing your story, I'm always open to helping other people find their way with their book or their story.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being here. And I look forward to like the next time we get to talk about something totally different.
I know, and you've been lucky. Like, we started the conversation when the illustrated workshops were doing well. Now with
Hmm.
the book, and hopefully next time I meet, I have some other news for you as well.
Yeah, we
Thank you
never
for having
know.
me, Pam.
Yeah, I'm so glad you were here.
Thank you so much. I had a great
As I sit with everything Urmila and I talked about today, I keep coming back to this idea. Your lived experience is not just background, it's material. It's creative material. We sometimes imagine creativity as something that begins once we finally feel confident or when we suddenly know exactly what we're trying to say. But what Urmila reminded us of today is that creativity comes through the unknown. It comes through the parts of our story that we're still trying to make sense of. Something else I love from this conversation is her honesty about community. So many of us try to create in isolation, but creativity is almost always strengthened by the right support, whether that's someone cheering you on or someone editing your work, or simply someone reminding you that your voice matters. If you're in a season where you don't feel ready, I hope you heard the permission woven through everything Urmila said. You don't have to be ready. You just have to begin from where you are. And I want to talk about imposter syndrome because it's real and it shows up for almost everyone who cares deeply about what they're making. We tend to think it's a sign we shouldn't move forward, when most of the time it's simply a sign that we're stretching into something new. The truth is, creativity asks us to grow, and growth is rarely comfortable. That discomfort doesn't mean you're not meant to be doing this. It might be proof that you are. So here's what I want you to take with you. Your story matters, not because it's polished, but because it's human. The messy parts, the uncertain parts, the parts you haven't figured out yet, those are often the places where connection begins. You never know who might need exactly what you've lived through or what you're learning. And if something in today's conversation stirred a creative longing in you, even a quiet one, I hope you'll protect that. Stay curious about it and follow it just one tiny step further. That's all creativity ever asks. Thank you so much for listening and being part of this creative community with me. I love sharing these conversations with you, and I'll see you next time on Building a Creative Life. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe for free and share it with a friend. It helps others find the show and grows our community. Remember, creativity is yours to define, there are no rules, and it's never too late. Until next time.